and scores! Great move by Davies. Well, this would be something. Oh! Ausgezeichnet! Brian White chips. It'll make it!
Welcome back to another episode of Caps Cast presented by Whitecaps Fan TV. My name is Matt, and I am joined, as always, by our favorite co-host, Damien here.
Hey everyone, how you doing? Hope you had a nice long weekend.
Yeah, for us Caps fans, we had a pretty crazy week here. We were meant to jump on yesterday, but we had been reading some things in the Twitterverse and the deep caves of Reddit that we had a potential signing coming our way. So we kind of just wanted to wait for that signing instead of getting on and hypothesizing all of our hopes and dreams again.
Yeah.
So let's kick it off here. The Whitecaps had a very active Monday.
Yeah, it was excellent, really. Honestly, I think to wake up to the little bits of things that we were seeing on Twitter first, because everybody checks their Twitter first thing in the morning, and seeing that it was basically a done deal waking up on Monday morning. And then obviously the Whitecaps posted a bit of a cryptic tweet there. Tweet, Instagram post, on any of the socials, I guess, showing the arrivals from...
Such a good announcement.
Yeah. I thought that was excellent. It was very well done.
And then I just want to shout them out too, because this is who I saw it with, is Glass City FC. They were the first to, I guess, post it on Twitter that Stuart Armstrong would be joining the Whitecaps. And then all of the cryptic Instagram posts from the Whitecaps, like their official account. So we were meant to jump on yesterday, but we obviously delayed it because we didn't want to hypothesize and then have our dreams crushed. But yeah, I thought the cryptic Instagram post was super cool.
It's not something that you see from the Whitecaps very often about a signing. We just kind of get this is a player we've signed, here he is. So it's nice that they're sort of getting onto it's a massive thing across Europe, I think, as well, when places sign a player, when teams sign a player. I think Burnley have been very, very good at it for the last 3 or 4 years, and their announcements have been nothing short of spectacular. So it's nice to see an MLS club, especially our MLS club,
just taking the piss out of things.
Yeah, just jumping on it a little bit and giving us, that little bit of almost building excitement, and it's just creating a bit of a nice.
So I have it pulled up here. I got so excited that I posted it on our Instagram page too. So the arrivals were one from Dundee, Glasgow, Southampton, all obviously arrivals into YVR.
Yeah.
And then the infamous, if anyone's been following
Glasgow as well.
Glasgow was on there, Southampton, Dundee, and then what's really funny is they put There We Land.
Yeah.
So I thought that was super good, but I think before we jump into the signing and sing all the praises we can about Stuart Armstrong, is the Whitecaps made a very strategic move in letting Louise Martins go, in the sense of buying him out and then kind of freeing up that international spot.
Yeah, and I think we'd said it previously in a couple of podcasts, maybe a couple of episodes back, that at least I'm pretty certain I had. I'd probably come out here and said that Louis Martins was looking like the weakest link at some point, and that he should have been one of the players to go. I'm 90% sure I've said this recently. I'm not trying to talk shit about the guy here. I actually quite like him. He always seems to put 110% in and give it everything. It's just that his actual level of skill and level of quality, let's say, it's just lacking for what we need in that position at the moment. He'll probably go to a different club that's needing a player like him, let's say, and do very well. And I hope he does.
He,
I
he
genuinely hope he does.
he filled in quite well. I mean, we also sang his praise in weeks past, where he's kind
Yeah.
of filled in on that left hand side due to injury. But I think in the sense that like we can't keep everybody, and the way the MLS operates is with the salary cap, can only have X
Yeah.
amount of international spots, and like unfortunately, Louise Martins was friendly fire in the sense of like us gaining Stuart Armstrong.
Which, when you look at it realistically, on like if you, man, just go on transfer market and do a comparison, or like on White Scout and do a comparison of the two, you'll see that the stats and like their expected things, they are nowhere near. Like
Yeah.
Armstrong is a full cut above. Honestly, man, like I bet his stats are probably a cut above anybody in that midfield for the Whitecaps. Actually, when you look at them,
So let's get into this. And like, so I know that we've talked in weeks past that like, oh, the Whitecaps need this like marquee signing, that, you know, I've been pushed back about this offline from some of our listeners about like, yeah, we're not going to get Marco Royce. Like, of course you're not going to get like a Olivier Giroud. Like the market in Vancouver is just not meant for these kind of players. But this signing here of Stuart Armstrong is bang fucking on.
yeah,
This
I agree with that.
is bang on for our market, what we needed. And I think this could be a gem of a player here. I think slotting into our midfield, like this is good things to happen, good things to come.
Yeah, I think so. I think I also, well, I'm hoping that it almost unlocks another level to Ryan Gold having a player like that behind him as well, because at the moment, like, I know we've got Vite, and I'll give Vite his praises again. We'll get into that shortly, but like, obviously, he was good this game. But having that midfield, like, almost trifecta now, of you could play, I suppose, Kubas at the back, you'd have either Vite and Stuart Armstrong, or you go Berhalter and Stuart Armstrong.
Yeah, my straight gut feeling is it's going to be Berhalter and Stuart Armstrong.
I think so. My gut feeling on that one, Matt, is it's not even. I honestly don't think that's going to be anything to do with how Vite plays. I think him and Berhalter are very close in like what they bring to the team. I think Berhalter does a little bit more in terms of the defensive side of things. He's like very good at tracking back, and he's not Gold's
form
level, but he's pretty decent at it. Where
form speaks more than anything, and Berhalter's been in cracking form. That's
yeah,
that's my reasoning. Is you got to go with the hot hand, and my opinion, Berhalter has been the hot hand, so that link up with Stuart Armstrong could be something quite nice. So let's get into it. So Stuart Armstrong.
just one more on that though, Matt. Though
Oh,
my logic on that whole thing, I'm looking at it the same way I'm looking at the Ocampo deal that we've just
yeah.
signed. I think he is coming in as a like for like replacement for Ali Ahmed. So I genuinely think that Armstrong is going to come in, and we might get 2 or 3 million for Vite at the end of the season here. I think he'll go because I saw on like Twitter a few weeks ago that like a few European clubs are actually looking into him.
And he's young,
So
right?
yeah, he's only like 20. I feel like he's been at the club for like 10 years, man.
I feel like we just have always been very harsh on him, which is fine because, I mean, this is why we have a podcast, to criticize and also to praise when it's needed, right?
Yeah.
It's not like we're outright hate Vite. I think it's just like
Oh,
we
God, no.
started the podcast and he was in quite poor form. And now that, you know, we're 11 episodes deep, he's really turned it around. So I think there'll be a lot of pendulum swinging with like our takes on players, like especially like someone like Vite. But at the end of the day, he is only 23, and I think that's
So,
something we were
okay.
overlooking. You know,
Yeah.
is we were
Yeah.
looking for him to act like a seasoned midfielder that was calm and composed, something that you would get from like a 26, 27-year-old midfielder.
Yeah.
and he's only 23. But I think, like you said, like this could this be a direct replacement? Like,
I think for the club, if they do get the money for him, obviously we got Stuart Armstrong on a free. He was out of contract. I do believe that Southampton had offered him a new contract, from what I've read. But we got Stuart Armstrong for free. If we can offload Vite and maybe Ali Ahmed at the end of the season and bring in a good chunk of change, even if it comes into like 7 million for the two of them, which I don't think is unrealistic, that money, like that's a massive amount of money for an MLS team, realistically. Like to
yeah.
put into contracts, to put into whatever they want to put it into, is massive. We just got to hope that the owners, if that happens, do the right thing and reinvest that money back into the club.
Okay, so let's break this down then, because I do have a question that I want to ask you about the ownership and Stuart Armstrong and contracts, and I'm very curious to hear your answer here. I was very surprised to see the contract till 2026. In the sense that we've had transfers in the past and it's till the end of the year, like expires January 1st, 2025. We have 5 months. Like, was it last year with Junior Hollier?
Oh, yeah.
Hoylett, where you get really excited about a player that comes here for like that pit stop until they decide what they want to do. So I was really surprised to see 2026, surprised in a good way, in the sense that, holy shit, not necessarily the owners, but Axel Schuster and Vanny have listened to the Caps cast and heard what we wanted. And also that this wasn't like a short term thing, is that they're going to give a solid chunk of playing time. And now my question to you is, like, does this restore your faith in the ownership at the moment and the way the ownership's thinking?
I don't know. It certainly helps. I will say that. It obviously helps, but at the same time, like, I'm still a bit gung ho. Like, we should have our own stadium. We should have a stadium with a grass field in there.
Totally.
Like, there's more things. This is basically papering over the cracks sort of thing. Like, it takes the what the word I'm looking for here? The heat, let's say, off the fact that we are playing in a government-owned facility, because everyone is now focusing on this shiny new signing that is Stuart Armstrong, which, don't get me wrong, excellent, and I'm all here for it. I think is going to be absolutely fantastic for the Caps. But it's almost like sleight of hand, if you get me, like deal by the owners, like, oh, here.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean?
That. Is like, hey, look over here. Well, something happens over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think there's a little bit of that with it. They're trying to almost maybe pull the fans back on side, because like even on Twitter and things that I've read recently, like it doesn't seem like the fans in general are overly, let's say, satisfied with the owners. Like there's a little bit of discontent there. So this, though, I do think this goes a long way to, or at least a little bit of a way to papering over the cracks and helping us out.
Yeah, because
I feel like they've
done. For me, I totally get what you say. Is that like, it's like, look over here. Well, we forget what happened, 6 months ago. I actually chalk this up to Axel Schuster. I don't chalk this up to ownership, because I think this is Axel Schuster managing the club very well.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, he seems to took over the football side of it.
Yeah, this is like a masterclass signing. Depending if obviously it works out, it's still. I mean, okay, let's get into this here. One thing I do like about Armstrong, and I mean, this is going to be the most biased opinion you're going to hear, is 149 appearances in the Premier League.
Yeah,
I've always said to you that the most physical league in the world is the Premier League. It is also the craziest league in the sense that unless you're Man City, any club really has a shot on any given day. You
Yeah,
know, is
yeah,
that this isn't, it's not a very predictive league in the sense that Bayern Munich or just steamrolled the entire year, is that you
yeah.
have crazy results due to physicality, due to the level of play, due to the tactics. And I think going out and getting somebody with 140 plus Premier League appearances is massive.
Man, he's also got like another like massive like thing that we need to look at here. He also has 9 appearances in the Champions League.
Yeah.
I know it's only 9, but at the end of the day, I've got fucking 0. So you know what I mean? Like, and nobody else on the Whitecaps put team has got any. So for him to come in with that experience as well, that experience of playing in what is arguably the greatest club competition in the world, like the year, like when the Champions League is on, and especially when the big guns are in it, like you get your top teams in that last like eight left. Them matches there produce some of the greatest fucking matches that you will ever see. It's a fascinating competition, and this guy has appeared in it 9 times. He's been in the Europa League 7 times. Like, we are bringing in a player of quality. That's what we're doing here. This is a player that can actually add to the team. Like, look at the signings that we made at the beginning of the season. We signed Utvik from, I think, the Norwegian league. To be fair to Utvik, he's come in, done a fucking tremendous job. I don't think anybody in that stadium knew anything about him prior to like any of the fans, I mean, knew anything about Utvik prior to him signing for the Whitecaps. And if you did, it's because you're from Norway or wherever it
Yeah,
was.
you'd have no idea.
Yeah, whereas this like builds up the excitement. This is somebody with like, yeah, like this is a player. This is somebody who's established himself, who you know. This is incredible. Like this is a massive, massive, massive signing for the Whitecaps. Honestly, similar to when they signed Ali Adnan, the level of signing. I thought Ali
So I
Adnan was
just, I
unbelievable.
got a little curious. Because I was like, I totally just disregarded when looking at it and preparing for the show that like the 9 Champions League appearances. So I do just want to rattle off some of the games he played in.
Yeah.
Just for experience and for us to go down.
Can I guess one? Did he play Barcelona?
Yeah, when they lost 7-0.
Thought he did. Oh. It's
He played
experience.
both he played both legs of that.
And I'm no legs left by the end of it, I bet, after being run ragged by them.
So Barcelona, Man City, PSG, and Bayern, all teams that he played in the Champions League.
Holy shit, man. That is some like caliber opponent, right?
Yeah. And
Well,
I mean in some games he was obviously used as a sub. But the Man City game and the Barcelona, he played all 90 minutes. Barcelona at home, and then he played Man City away.
What score
All
were them
90
games?
minutes. The Barcelona one was 2-0. And then actually they drew Man City in 2016.
Holy shit. 2016, actually, you know what? That's when Man City were just on the up, right? Like coming up. And probably had players like, I don't know, Julian Lescott fucking at the back.
But,
You know what I mean? It wasn't the curb stomping team that they are now.
yeah, but I mean, still, like you said, experience is experience, and
Yeah.
Champions League experience is probably worth its weight in gold in this situation.
Oh yeah, it's invaluable, man. Like it's incredible.
And also 51 caps for Scotland. And obviously he played in both the 2020 and 2024 Euros.
Yeah. Which that's massive as well. Like it's international quality is, and look at Scotland. I know they're not a great team, but they do compete. They've had a couple of good games recently as well, especially even in the build up, like the qualifications for Euro 24. They were pretty good. Did they not beat Spain?
They have a decent squad now. And I mean, let's table that because obviously we got to go over some call ups that have happened.
Yeah.
But let's table it because it is an exciting call-up season, call-up selection window for the Whitecaps. But yeah, so I mean, good signing. Bang fucking on for what both me and you have said was needed. Experience.
Yeah.
European experience is more than invaluable in this sense. And this is probably the best signing the Whitecaps could have pulled off for our market. You know?
Yeah.
Obviously, oh, why didn't you go out and get Marco Reus or Olivier Giroud? Like, it's not happening, right? We can sit here and make a wish list. It's never going to happen in Vancouver, and this is fucking bang on.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see. I saw that the Whitecaps had posted like a little clip on their Instagram that Ocampo and Armstrong were in training today, but I doubt they'll be match fit for Saturday.
No, there's no game. It's international.
Nope. We got a game. Dallas.
Man, my thing has been saying no game. Oh. I need to change the app that I'm using because I was convinced that there was no game and I would have probably missed it because I was like, yeah, there's absolutely... I thought it was weird because like we don't normally like stop for the international breaks and I was like, why are we playing? But it just in my app not updated.
This is part of this. That's part of my episode I want to do where like how would I change the MLS scheduling, and it's the international break. So let's actually, this is actually a great segue of you pointing that out. So international break has started. The other shocking news, not shocking, more well-deserved, is Ryan Gauld gets finally his call up to Scotland.
The recognition he deserves for being the third best number 10 in the MLS. Like, so he's not being called up way sooner is shocking.
Is shocking. And like they've got 2 games that he'll be in the squad for like the UEFA, it's the Nations League, right?
Yeah.
So the games are Poland and Portugal, which Poland at home, Portugal away. And like, so Ryan Gauld is joined, like, and now this is kind of how we were both saying, is that like they've got a very decent squad in the sense of Andy Robertson, John McGinn, Scott McTominay, obviously Ryan Gauld, Billy Gilmore are all joining the Scotland call up. Granted, I was just reading off a paper before anybody calls me out on that. I wasn't prepared for that. Looking at you, Sean. So a very strong Scotland squad. I'm very curious to see if he is going to get minutes. I could see him coming off the bench, obviously. I think the Poland game would be his best shot at coming off the bench, unless the Portugal game just turns into an absolute one-sided game.
I honestly don't know, mate. I think that if he can go into the Scotland training setup with the same sort of like high energy press and the tracking back and the just sheer quality that he brings like to the Whitecaps, I don't understand why he wouldn't start. I genuinely feel like he is a fucking outrageously good player. I feel so lucky that the Whitecaps have him. And I think if he was in a Premier League team, like even if it was a bottom half Premier League team doing this, or even a championship team, top half championship, bottom half Premier League, he would be like on Scotland's fucking team sheet first, week in, week out when they are playing.
I guess it's harder for international because the managers are just so set in their ways.
And like, some managers don't like people that... Like, some managers have grudges if a player leaves the home country as a 16-year-old kid. Because they see it as some weird fucking thing where they've got to almost stamp their authority and be like, no, he left this country, he can fend for himself. Whereas I genuinely feel that's why he's not been called up sooner. There's a bit of a bias.
It could be bias. It more than probably is a bias. Like, I mean, how many times have we seen it with other international call-ups? Like, not specifically for the Whitecaps, but in Europe and stuff, where me and you will be like, well, why wasn't this person called up? You know, we can go back and forth and debate European squads all day. That could
Yeah.
be a totally different 5-hour podcast of our biases. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
so it's good to get the recognition. We'll see. Now let's bridge this. So, as to your surprise, we have a game this Sunday.
Yeah, apparently.
We have a game this Sunday. And before we go into what's happened in the last 2 weeks, I do just want to call out the other international call ups, which is Ali Ahmed gets Canada, Cubas goes to Paraguay, Fafa to Haiti, and then Pedro Vite goes to Ecuador. So that's kind of
to lose.
So let's kind of toss that into the universe for a little bit, and let's look at what we've done to get to this point. So let's look at the last week since we've chatted. We book another final to the Canadian Championship. I don't really want to spend too much time on that game.
It was arguably the most boring game that I have ever watched at BC Place. Like, holy shit. Like, it was, I think you said it a couple of times, Matt, during the game. It was a second leg, and as soon as we got that early goal, all you said is, this is second leg football, that's it. And it was like, there was no drive, there was no push, it was just knock the ball around, keep the ball, like,
possession-based football.
Yeah, and as much as some people might like that and find, oh yeah, it's awesome, we won the game. Yeah, we won the game. I would much rather see like attacking, high transition football all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like that high press, that high energy, and it just wasn't there for the Pacific game.
And I guess that's the point of knockout football, right?
Yeah,
is not necessarily, this was not knockout, but because over 2 legs you wouldn't consider that knockout football.
Yeah,
but I mean, this was group stage football to a fucking T. Is like, okay, we've got the away goal, right? Obviously, we had an away goal coming into the game, so we're up on aggregate. Get the early second goal, and that's it. You're up. 2 goals, one of them being an away goal. Essentially, Pacific would have had to score 3 goals to beat us over the 2. No, 2 goals to beat us over the 2 goals to beat us over the leg.
It wasn't going to happen, right? It was never gonna. I don't think they were ever going to come to BC Place and get a win there. Not maybe a couple of seasons ago, it would have been doable. But with the current crop of players at the disposal for the Whitecaps, if a Canadian Premiership team comes here, especially to the home ground, and picks up a win at the Whitecaps, that I wouldn't even know how to describe it, Matt. That will that's mind blowing. Like that.
Forge did it, but we won across the 2 legs, right?
That was last season, was it?
Yeah, you're right. Because it has happened.
Oh, fucking hell, no. You're right. It was Cavalry won it.
Cavalry. Forge was in the Toronto game. Sorry.
Yeah, we beat them. Did we not beat Cavalry 2? Was it 2-0 or 2-1 in Alberta?
And then they came here and won 1-0.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
Shit. That match had slipped my mind.
It's 2-leg football. Like, if that was the first... Like, obviously it was a tale of 2 tapes, right?
Yeah.
And the first leg was a bit more pressing, a bit more everything, more familiar football to what we're used to. But then, like, just seeing the second leg just kind of draw out. Pacific obviously are in their worst form in the Canadian Pacific and the Canadian Premier League. And they haven't been in good form. I think they're near the bottom of their standings in the Canadian Premier League. So
sucks for the fans.
It's never going to happen. But let's move on. We had to, unfortunately, I mean, I don't want to say unfortunately, it sounds really bad. We had to sit there for 90 minutes.
Yeah, it was. Honestly, it's always nice to go to BC Place. It's always a
I
nice
would
day
have
out.
I would have liked to see the kids play a bit more. Like, when you get up
Yeah,
that one goal lead, like start hammering. Like I would have been totally okay with Vanny making a 5-player sub.
yeah. Even
Um
like Hal Booney could have started. Like, why not start Hal Booney? Like, I don't know if he was injured, maybe, but Hal Booney could have started that game. Like, I genuinely quite like Hal Booney. I think he's a no nonsense physical defender.
yeah. It's like
But yeah, like you're
proper.
right. They could have put some of the kids on for the game. I know that Bulmer
And like
started.
it would have probably created a bit more of a buildup because, when academy prospects get a chance like this, they're going to play their fucking heads off, right?
Yeah, to try and
Because they
secure
want
it.
that look. They want that first team look. But
Yeah,
Brian White goes out with a concussion, which I guess is the biggest talking point. He's in concussion protocol on the craziest like play.
the weird. That was wild. That it happened, man. Like in the stadium, it didn't. It was hard to tell what had happened at first. It kind of looked like the defender from where we sat. Where we were sat because we're so far away from it. We're basically other end of the stadium from where that happened, 100 yards away. So it happened, and it sort of looked like he'd ran into the defender's shoulder at first and just knocked himself out. And it was kind of like, what the hell just happened? And then, no, the defender puts his big old right boot through the ball and almost decapitates Brian White with
And
one of
then
the
Brian White
steering
smashes
wheel.
his head on the floor on the way down.
Yeah, like holy shit, man! No wonder he's in concussion protocol. Like that was brutal.
Just yeah, it was crazy to see. Like in real time, it was like one of those like, what the hell just happened?
And
So
that stadium and that grass, oh well, the lack of grass there doesn't give you the
concrete.
same sort of bounce as landing on a grassy pitch.
No. So we move on then, and we're gonna kind of shut the book on that. We've got September 25th is the home game against Toronto for all the marbles. So that potentially could set up a three-peat Canadian championship along with a berth into the CONCACAF Champions
Yeah.
League, however they want to call it. I think they rebranded it. But I think the biggest thing which me and you wanted to go into was we finally returned to MLS play.
Oh yeah. Like we have been waiting for what feels I don't even know, man. It feels like it's been 3 months. I know it's only been like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, but good grief, it did feel like it had been a lifetime without it.
So we did not travel, but the team traveled down to Austin to. It's kind of interesting because we were rated as the underdog in this situation.
Oh yeah.
So there was money to be made off that.
Man, like even look at Austin though. Austin are a good side. They've been doing well this season, sort of thing. Where are they in the table here? Let me have a little
They're
look.
10th now.
They're
Obviously,
10th.
things have shifted. Things have shifted, right?
Yeah.
Since obviously the game, but yeah, anytime we're not the best when we go away from home. I feel like our record speaks more to what we actually are on the pitch. Like the Whitecaps are 7-4-3 on the road, but I felt like it was going to be a shaky game. We hadn't been active in the MLS in the sense that Austin had already returned to action, right? Whitecaps
Yeah.
were delayed because LAFC booked their ticket to the League's Cup final. That game plays
Yeah.
out. So we get postponed another week. But let's get into it here. Obviously, Brian White's not named to the starting 11. Brian White is in concussion protocol.
Yeah.
For everybody listening now too, he was back training today. I don't think he'll play this weekend, but we can talk on that a bit later. I think the Whitecaps come out with like one of the stronger lineups It was kind of like, I feel like Vanny said to the team, like, these points now are the points that get us to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Which I think is an understatement, because these points now are the ones that get us to top 4.
Yeah, these are the points that get us a home advantage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he goes with the standard back line of Utvik, Veselinovic, and Laborda, which
Yeah.
has been so solid. I think Utvik's been, besides the League's Cup game where he was absolutely dreadful,
Oh, yeah, against Pumas.
he's been so good for us coming in. And I love it now too, because I've seen some of the Southsiders wearing the like Adidas like
Headband.
headpiece. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, isn't it? It must
I
be like,
saw
even for him to look up and see that, it must be like, hey,
that.
that is, yeah.
And then we go with like our standard midfield of Bearhalter, Vitae, and Cubas, Raposo and Ahmed out wide, and then the attack of Fafa and Ryan Gald. So I think essentially the strongest lineup Vanny could have put together, knowing that this was 3 points for the taking.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And let's get into it now. We've set the scene.
Yeah, so I think the entire game there against Austin, I think we were outstanding. From the first minute of the game, the Caps were on them. They had no time to breathe. Everybody was pressing as a unit. It was very, very a bit hectic to watch on TV, like seeing everybody running around like they were. It was unbelievable. But yeah, they pressed them so much for so many errors out of Austin. And I think in the first like 15 minutes there, we had maybe 4 or 5 good chances that had there been a fraction to the right, fraction to the left, they would have been in. And the keeper made a couple of good stops, Stiver or whatever it was called for Austin there.
Stuver,
But yeah, I don't know.
as they were calling him.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we came out in that game and yeah, we had really took heed of what Vanny had said in that changing room. And they just went balls to the wall out for this club. And it was nice to see.
Straight away. And what's interesting too is Austin did not have a single shot on target.
Yeah.
So Takeoka has a very calm night.
That honestly, it was one of the little things that little stats that I'd noted down for the podcast. There, I was like, Takeoka in that whole game had 16 touches of the ball. That's it. That's incredible. What I like about that is it also shows that Vancouver were very progressive with the play. They weren't getting the ball and rotating it back to Takeoka, which maybe not this season as much, but in previous seasons, that has been a thing where we have been stood in the
dreadful.
stand. They take a corner, and I've literally looked at you. You've looked at me on different occasions and gone all the way back to the keeper, and they play it all the way back, and it's like, oh no,
Like,
don't
no.
do this the way. But now it's like if you're having your keeper only have 16 touches in an entire game, and I think if I'm right, 10 of them were goal kicks. Like what an incredible stat!
Yeah, six goal kicks.
Also, yeah, 6 goal kicks. So 10 touches that weren't goal kicks. That's nuts. What an impressive stat for a goalkeeper to have.
I mean, is that speak more volumes to how we set up tactically defensively?
I think it just speaks volume to what the team did as a whole, man. Like, that means that every time that the back three had the ball, the next three, as in Cubas, Berhalter, and Vitae, even include Ahmed and Raposo in that and make it a 5, it means that every time that back three had the ball, the 5 in front of them were getting into space and were making themselves available. And that's what it is all about. You need to make yourself available for a pass so you can receive
creative
the ball.
runs, right?
I feel like we've seen it in recent weeks. where it's looked a bit lethargic, where the defenders have had the ball and nobody's really made that run. Pumas game, it was almost like a very tired game, that Pumas game, where they could have the ball, and I know he got like hacked off the ball twice and they scored from it, but is that also a combination of not having the midfielders putting themselves into like areas where they can receive the ball, where
to
it doesn't
making
have
the
to think,
runs.
oh, if I pass to him, it's going to get intercepted anyway. So I think as a whole team unit for this game, they were just excellent. Like there was one team on that pitch to me that wanted to win. That's what the difference was. There was one team that wanted to win, and it was the Caps. Even you look at how aggressive we were. The tackle stats. Austin only had 6 tackles to Vancouver's 10. 3 interceptions to Vancouver's 4. And this is a good one and shows like how good our defense are. Austin were playing long balls. I think they played like upwards of 65 long balls. The aerial duels there, Vancouver won 90 aerial duels. That shows that the defenders are getting up, winning them balls, knocking them out. Like Vic and his helmet, man, just like throwing that head on the end of things. Like incredible. What a guy.
It's
like, sensational performance, man. From everyone.
And it's kind of interesting too, because we did touch on it earlier, but how Booney gets his MLS debut, which I thought was very interesting, that we've been singing his praises for his performance in the League Cup and the Canadian Championship, and only now he's getting his MLS debut, which kind of speaks volume to how much depth we have on our back line, because Tristan Blackman comes back too, right? He comes back as a sub. Granted, he was only used for a handful of minutes, but we're getting the ball rolling. We're getting the ball rolling. Everybody, for the most part, is unscathed in the sense that we don't have a lot of injuries at the moment. Let's knock on wood, pray to whoever you want. But we're kind of gearing up now for this crazy run. And we've talked to people on like our fan TV that like every year we kind of expect the Whitecaps to make a push, but I think that push is different this year in the sense that it's like this could be a top 4, a top 3 push. This isn't like a push to get to the playoffs. Like this is a push to really like grasp that division,
Yeah, I think it is. My only concern here is it all stems from about 4 or 5 seasons ago. I think you'll remember this, Matt.
Yeah.
We were top of the league with, I think there was like 4 games left to play, and all we needed to do was get 3 points from 4 games, and we'd finish top and win the Western League. And we took 2 points from 4 games and finished 3rd.
And bottled it. I remember. Didn't we?
We're against Seattle, and we had to play Seattle and Portland, and they were in like 2nd and 3rd. And yeah, we just got absolutely. I don't know. It just went to shit in the last bit of the season. Like I don't know if it's like if it was the mentality of the players or whatever it was. Like it just all got to them in that last couple of games.
Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, we finished 3rd, and that still haunts me a little bit. It lives in my head rent free. Honest to God, like I'm so worried that it could just go to shit in a heartbeat. And it bothers me a lot because I think over the 10 years that we've been like going to the Caps now, or probably even 14 realistically, we started going like almost as soon as we met. I am now so much more invested into this club. Like when I lived in England, I was like invested into United. It'd affect how my day was if they lost. I'm at the same point with the Whitecaps now, so I don't know. Remember the other game? You walked out of there and was like, fuck fan TV, we're like out of here.
You're a fucking hissy fit.
Like, you lost it and like wanted to be out of that stadium because of the performance of the team. Like, a few years ago, we didn't get that. We were just like, oh, well, they tried. Now it's like, fuck you, they tried. Like, what the hell was that? Like, we get worked up. We get mad about it. We are, like, emotional about it. So, going into these, like, final stages of the season now, it's honestly like a bit of an emotional roller coaster. I'm just thankful that we've got so many home games left, and hopefully, if we can get a very busy BC place and like fill it up, which, man, we are fighting for realistically top 3. We win our 3 games in hand here. We go top 3. I know it's a big ask because one of them's LAFC, but that's what we are fighting for. Get out and support the club. Get to BC Place, fill that stadium, and give the boys a lot of noise behind them. Give them that 12th player. You hear what the Seahawks say, the fans of the 12th player. Let's be that 12th player for the Caps for this final run-in, and let's fucking clinch the division.
Yeah. It's okay. I just wanted to interject quickly because you did say how it ruins your day. What lives in my head is I saw a tweet when the Premier League started back up, and it was like, I'm about to let 11 overpaid men ruin my mental health for the next 10 months.
It's
Uh,
so true.
so fucking true. So just quickly, because I do like the rally call and I do want to touch on that because I did a little bit of, I guess you could say, creeping. Is I think what's very interesting about this game is Vite scores from the fucking absolute stunner of a goal, and gets named to the
MLS
what do
team
they
of the
call
week.
it? MLS Team of the Week, and Ryan Gauld obviously gets a bench spot. So, like you said, there was only one team that wanted to win, and I think we can really just kind of leave it at that. Let's look ahead here. So,
can I just say what on that
Oh,
game
yeah.
again? Can I just say one thing? Vanny did something in the last 10 minutes that I thought was a very, very sound tactical move. First of all, well, in about 65, he replaced who did he
Schaff,
take off here?
Raposo
Yeah,
for Schaff.
for Repulso, which I know we've had our reservations over Shot in the past, but I honestly think coming in and playing in that wing back role, I always thought it was a little bit slow over the ground. Over the last few games, when he's actually come in, he's done very, very well. So that was an excellent decision by Vanny. But then he also took off Berhalter and put on, I think it was Blackman.
No, Halbouni.
Halbouni, was it? Okay, so he takes
Yeah.
Berhalter off, puts Halbouni on. That forces that forces Fafa to drop back into that midfield role that Berhalter was holding. It forces basically Halbouni to go and join the back 3. And that back 3 then, when you're defending, becomes almost a back 6 for the last little bit of the game.
Yeah.
It,
He's getting his game management.
Really. Yeah.
He's getting his game management
It was excellent.
Yeah.
What a way to just shore up that back line and be you know what, guys? We've got this in the bag. All we've got to do is see the game out. I'm going to give you the extra backup up top, at the back. Just see the game out, control the game. And I think we're getting pretty good at seeing games out and controlling games for the last 10 minutes now.
And as much as I think both me and you really do like Vanny, I love how animated he is, but I do think a lot of the time he gets his subs wrong. He gets his subs wrong, and his late game management kind of comes back to haunt the team. I've seen it, time and time again. You know,
there have been a few.
But I think he's getting there. And obviously, nobody's sitting here saying we need to sack Vanny for these little mistakes.
Oh, God, no.
But I think this was perfect end game management. This was exactly what we needed. Fresh legs at the back, because there's so many times we'll be up 1-0, he'll take Brian White off and throw Fafa on, and it's why are you doing that when we could use another defender, or we could somebody in the midfield is tired legs and not tracking back, right? And it's we could use this defender. We don't need to go and search for another goal. We just need to get 3 points and get the hell out of here.
Honestly, just go Mourinho tactics at that point, especially for the last 10 games or so that we've got left now. If you can manage all the games as he did the Austin game, I think we'll come through. Out of the 10 games, so what's that, 30 points? If I were Vanny here, I'd be looking at the team saying, yo guys, out of these 30 games, we need to be taking a minimum of 20 points.
Yeah.
Or out of the 30 points available, we need to be taking a minimum of 20.
Man, fuck that. We need all 30.
But no, obviously there'll be some drops there, but I do think that taking 20 points there will at least guarantee us the top. I'd say top 3. I think 20 points guarantees us top 3.
And so this is the hard part. This is the very hard part. And I know we touched on this a little bit earlier, is the call-ups. Because the MLS doesn't observe the international break.
Yeah.
And we have 2 games on the bounce here. So we have Dallas and San Jose. San Jose is on the 14th. So I think the international break is over then.
Okay.
I could be wrong. Just checking.
Even then on that, they are like they're 2 games that looking at positions of the teams and like the form that like the 2 teams have been in. So did you say San Jose? Sorry.
Okay, so we're only gonna have the 1 game, the way the MLS is kind of aligned right now. I thought it was 2, but it is actually only 1. So this weekend's game against Dallas, we're without Ryan Gauld, without Vite, without Ali Ahmed, without Cubas, and without Fafa. Secondly, Sam Adekube has picked up an injury, and he actually was called up for Canada, but then I guess rejected it.
Yeah, with the injury, of course, yeah.
With the injury. So that's... I don't know if he'll be back.
Yeah.
50-50. So that's... So 6 that we know of. Brian White is... I mean, just let it go. Like, just go.
Yeah, to the club, do you mean?
No, I mean, like, you're fine. Like, we need you up top. So that's 6 players straight out. 5 of them you could say are probably in our 11. Like with Ali Ahmed, Cubas, Vite, Ryan Gauld.
Shitty. Yeah.
That's all straight.
Yeah.
Brian White is questionable, we'll say. We won't know until much later in the week when Vanny has his press conferences. He was in training today with light running. Stuart Armstrong and Ocampo are in Vancouver. Everything that I've read today from Armstrong's press conference, which is honestly the smart thing of why we postponed this podcast, is that he's fit, but not match fit.
Yeah, because I think he's just this year returned from a hamstring injury, I'm right.
So
just before he was released.
So that brings us to what the hell are we going to do? This is the toughest spot to be in. This is why I've always said that the MLS should align with the international breaks. That being said, I do know that the MLS schedules way in advance, and probably there is a difficulty in trying to align with it, which I don't think is an excuse, to be honest, because this puts us in a really tough spot. I think a lot of teams are going to feel it, but I think my bias kicks in and we feel it the most.
Out of these games that we're playing now, 100%, like, I'm telling you now, I've not even looked, but I'm going to, like, take a wild, like, stab in the dark, let's say, and good God, Dallas. I'm guaranteeing right now that they don't have as many players being called up for international duty. Like, they can't, man. Like, look at the shit. Like, without being too blunt.
No, I mean, it's... I'm going to pull it up right now. Dallas are actually sitting outside of the cut line for the playoffs. It doesn't look like they're anywhere near. They're on 33 points. Minnesota are sitting in 9th on 36. So, I mean, there is a little bit of wiggle room, I guess you could call it. But let's see.
Yeah, I don't
Dallas,
think they're going to lose as many
Dallas.
players here.
And I don't think they lose any. Now that
See,
I'm
so
actually
we're basically playing what you'd have to call a full strength Dallas team with 50% of our starting 11 gone.
okay. So I lied. I completely lied. They've got 4 players missing.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. So therefore, I don't know if. I mean, I should have been a little bit more prepared for that, but I don't know if they're even in the 11.
Yeah. Either way, like ours
Either
are all
way,
starting like members of the 11, which is the problem.
yeah. So I think that's um let's be selfish here. Is we leave 5 players out of our 11. That being said, not just any 5 players, 5 attacking players.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
honestly, man, it is a problem. Like, I'm even just looking at the
because
what you call it here, the squad. Like, and yeah, from the squad that played against Austin there, did you say Vite got a call up?
Vite got called up to Ecuador.
Yeah, man. So you out of the squad that started against Austin, you will take out 5 of the starting 11 right away. That's massive. And like you say, it's basically the 2 attackers and then the left hand side of the pitch going forward in terms
Yeah,
of Vite and
and
like Ahmed.
Adekube's injured.
And Adakube is injured, yeah. Holy hell. If honestly, man, if Acampo is fit and ready to play, he needs to come in. Ocampos, I think what's his how do you pronounce his name?
Ocampo.
Ocampo. So he needs to come in right away if he's fit and drop him for Ahmed. Keep Raposo on the other side. So you'd have the back 3, I think you leave it untouched. I think you stick with, even though Blackman is nearing fitness, I still feel like you stick with Labarda, Veselinovic.
Yeah, I think that's the nice thing about our back 3 at the moment is that none of them are getting international call-ups, and they're probably the strongest in the league. Like as a unit, maybe not. Maybe there is argument that individually their weaknesses can be exposed, but as a unit, we probably have one of the best backlines in the league. Also, the saving grace in this whole thing is that this isn't a game where we're playing like LAFC. We're not playing
It's not what
Seattle.
you call
We're
a
not
6
playing
meter.
Portland. Exactly.
Yeah.
But these, like we said it earlier against Austin, is these are the games that get us to the top 3. This Dallas game is 3 points that get us to the top 3, because you shouldn't we shouldn't drop points. And I mean, this kind of shits on Dallas, and I mean, I don't want to, but we shouldn't be dropping points to an 11th seed team, you know.
No, I agree. But then again, you have to factor in the travel as well as the 5 players, right? Like it, man, it's going to be a difficult game. I honestly feel, is there a chance here that he brings Blackman back into the back 3, and you remember a few, I can't remember when it was. It feels like it was maybe about 2 months ago. Vanny tried a little experiment with putting Labarda as the defensive midfielder, and it just went to shit.
Yeah, it was so bad. I was like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing ever, and it just went so bad.
Does he have to, like, just out of necessity, not because he wants to, but just out of like sheer necessity, does he have to go with that again? Does he have to drop Labarda in there? Or, with Blackman being fit, is Blackman good enough, like, technically on the ball to fill in that spot? And, like, even if he could just do 60 minutes of the game coming back from injury, that would be massive if he could. Like, I really feel like we are going to struggle going forward. Brian White should be back, so that takes, like, Gold's position, let's say. But you've still got, in that team there, what I'm looking at here, you'd still have to replace, if you brought Brian White in for Gold and Ocampo for Ahmed, you'd still be needing to replace Kubas, Vite, and Vafa, which is still a massive ask out of the squad that we've got. Like, Shop can come in for Vite, maybe, and play in that like central role, but you still got an attacker out and your defensive midfielder. And I think the defensive midfielder we've got is one of the better defensive midfielders in the league as well. So it's honestly, man, every position that we're losing here, it's not
so
it's not where you
valuable.
it's not where you just look at it and go, oh, it'll be okay. It's like what kind of way you look at it and go, oh shit, who do you replace them with? Like it's a shitty group of guys to be losing all at once.
Okay, so here's what I do. If I'm Vanny for the day, this is what I would do. I don't even know if I feel comfortable even saying this. I would start Brian White and Krelak, given the fact that Vanny doesn't like to change his system. He changes his players.
Yeah.
Right? So that too straight away has to go. And I'm basing this on the fact that Vanny rolls into BC Place and is like, well, I played the same system all year. I'm not changing now. I'm changing the players. Like they play my system. I don't play for them.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
so I'm basically mirroring what this lineup was, like in the sense of like the tactics. So I would do White and Krelak.
Yeah.
I would flip Raposo to the left-hand side and have him as like that left wing back. And I would actually start Laborda as a right wing back. Then what I would do is I would keep Bearhalter in the pitch in the middle, and I would do Schopf, and I would pray to any god that would listen that Stuart Armstrong can at least come on in the 60th minute. Like, you know what I mean? Use him as like not a late game substitution, but one of those like, okay, 35 minutes, like you can get that out of somebody.
Yeah.
And honestly, then what I would do, I would keep the back line intact. Well, oh no, I moved Laborda out. So I'd actually bring in Hal Booney as a central defender playing on the right-hand side. And then for that defensive midfielder, I wouldn't bring in Blackman. I'd be really tempted to bring in somebody like Ralph Prizo,
Yeah, maybe. You know what? You might be right with that, Matt. I honestly forgot about Priso for a second there, but you're right.
I kind of did too, because I was looking at the full squad list from I'll admit, like, I was a little cheating there because I was looking at the full squad list from the Austin game.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of what I was using, but that's what I would do. And maybe, you know what? Maybe I would keep Halbouni out and bring in Blackman and kind of shift somebody over, like Utvik over. I don't know. The success that Halbouni and Laborda had as like that right-hand side of the pitch during the Leagues Cup, like the streets won't forget.
No, they won't, mate. Like, mate, the streets won't forget Halbouni flattening Danny Belonga and just standing up and like giving it a massive roar and just walking away. And every Whitecaps fan who were watching that was like, yes!
Yes!
Like, we know. That was incredible.
So that's kind of how up shit creek we are without a paddle. Like, for one game.
There's probably going to be 4 or 5 players in the next couple of days signing like almost like the temporary contracts.
Yeah, the like academy.
Right? Yeah, I'm gonna estimate at least 4 players. Well, probably 5. Let's be honest. There's 5 going, so why would there not be?
5 in, 5 out.
Yeah. It's gonna be around there, right?
And then kind of one thing I want to double back to is before we get off here, because I know we kind of try and keep it around an hour.
Yeah.
Is your call to like the support. So I actually logged on to Ticketmaster today. I selfishly wanted to see how many tickets were sold for the Toronto game coming up on the 25th. And it actually looks quite packed for the Dallas game. Like, there was a lot of missing blue seats. Like, there was a lot of It looked like a lot of sold tickets. So I think
Wait, sorry, Matt. For the Dallas game or the Toronto game?
I logged on to see the Toronto game,
But
but I
how did
actually
Dallas
ended
while
up.
you were on?
Yeah, sorry, I should have phrased
Okay.
it better. I ended up on the Dallas game because I was looking at like those tickets.
Yeah.
It actually looks quite busy. Uh,
Ball up and all.
no, the upper bowl probably won't. They won't open the upper bowl probably until the end, right?
Yeah, maybe the last couple of games. Maybe for the playoffs.
Yeah, maybe LA game if they're gonna market the fuck out of Giroux coming.
Yeah, they probably will, right?
But yeah, so it does look like it will be like a decent turnout. So that's kind of speaking to your call to action.
Yeah, good. We need it because, like, yeah, I know that the League's Cup was sort of like done in protest. The League's Cup was done in protest.
Yeah.
But yeah, this, like, the Canadian Championship, this is like our trophy. Like, I'm not even Canadian, but this is like our trophy. This is a Canadian trophy. You'd think
3 on the bounce, right?
Yeah, and you think because of that, like, I were expecting a hell of a lot more people at the Pacific game. I really would. I know you can say, oh, it's only a fucking
No,
Canadian
I'm not trying to
championship.
defend it. I'm not
It's
trying
a
to like.
semi-final. You are playing to get into the final, the third time on the like bounce to win this thing. It's not. I don't know. For me, it was very lacking at the stadium that the fans didn't show
Oh,
up.
totally. I think anybody there would say that it was lacking.
And it's not like they had the excuse of, oh, we've been to 3 games in the last 3 weeks, so it got expensive. No, we've not had any games because of the League's Cup. It was the first game that we had, and literally nobody turned up. Like, I don't know, man. I feel like it should have been more busy, and we should have had a hell of a lot better turnout.
Exactly, and I think we'll see the end product of that at the Toronto game. Like, if the Whitecaps can market it, right? Because at the end of the day, like, season tickets will show up, with the opt-in process, but at the end of the day, they have to market selling those seats to the like fair weather fans, and like selling a Tuesday night game against a club from Victoria is a lot fucking harder than a Saturday night game in the MLS. Let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah, that is a good point.
But yeah, so let's wrap her up here. I think we've covered everything we wanted to talk about, condensed into an hour, which is where we want to keep things. And I'm also fucking starving because I haven't eaten dinner.
Oh, there you
go. Yeah. So anything you want to touch on before we log off here, or are we just gonna call it a day?
Great. Yeah. Just obviously a massive congratulations. Probably don't know if he's going to hear it, but a massive congratulations to Ryan Gold on his first international call.
He'll listen. What are you talking about?
The only negative I've taken away from that is the fact that Canada won't be able to call him up in a year's time after he gets his citizenship. But like going representing your country, especially for somebody that maybe hasn't represented them in over 10 years from like youth level.
Yeah,
that is like return back. Like, he recalled back and everything. Like, yeah, like honestly, like well done, Ryan Gold. That is massive. Right.
And I think I can speak for it. We're unofficially his favorite podcast with zero research done on that. I think I can just speak from the heart.
Yeah, that might be our new tagline. Unofficially, Ryan Gold's favorite podcast.
Prove us wrong. Prove us wrong. You don't know. All right. Well, we'll be back Saturday. We're going to do fan TV. I'm not going to throw a hissy fit and storm out of the stadium again. I am committed to doing it this Saturday. Other than that, I guess we'll chat later then, everyone. We'll sign off for me.
Alrighty, sounds good. See you later, guys.
Cheers. Thanks for listening to another episode of Caps Cast presented by Whitecaps Fan TV. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram listed below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content.